Hello, everyone. Welcome. We have a beautiful May 18th today, 2024. I'm joined with Michael on Skype, and I understand in Germany it is thunderstorms. And Michael was telling me that things have been very, very intense there in Germany. And things here are quite different, but still very intense. And right right now, I'm making the transition of moving away from where I currently live, and my mother is also going through some very, very difficult decisions with her health and wellness. So, God willing, things will work out, and all will be well, but for now, things are very tense, and Michael's feeling the tension there in Germany as well. So we are gathered to do another session on Michael's research into the movie The Terminator, which is, also another one of these movies with all kinds of pre-programming, preconditioning. So, these forms of entertainment turn out to be a form of mind control in the end. And yeah, I think that that's disturbing news to a lot of people, and they ignore it. They don't want to hear it. They'd rather be entertained than informed, sadly. And these sessions, the Sciences of the New Religion script is not for the faint at heart, right? Isn't that true, Michael?
Yeah, you will see that with the prediction in this very session, Brett. Hi, thanks for having me. Hello, dear listeners out there. I hope that these sessions will gain some interest, that it can be, or it should be at least, help for all the people just looking for the truth, because
The truth has been, yeah, we have to fight for the truth. It's not something that comes easily, you
yeah, but
know.
the other side wants to fight the truth at all costs, you see.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They want to suppress the truth, I
Yeah,
guess, is what we would
yeah,
say.
yeah.
So they suppress the truth where we are trying to encourage people to study and to research this suppressed information that, also it, it just wreaks havoc on your mind when you are preconditioned to this extent that we are today in this current, the way that the world is set up. It's almost set up for just total disaster, total synthesis. In other words, Hegelian dialectic on steroids.
Yeah, I have to explain maybe to the listener that Brad sounds a little bit different today because he's just not working from home, but working from another internet workstation there. So therefore, he might come in a little bit uh, stranger than usual.
Oh
Okay,
yeah, yeah,
but let's
that's
let's
true.
just dive in because it's just a lot of material, and there will be many. I hope at least many moments that you really see that it's. I'm not going into Schwarzenegger and all the stuff. I'm going into the real nitty gritty of it all because I will ask some questions that I hope will keep someone thinking. So let's have it for Terminator 2. Terminator, we know it is a term of just to finish something off, to end something. And these are the first pictures of Terminator 2. Movie comes from James Cameron, of course, TC, Canadian Knight. And the main character is the Terminator, the one who terminates. Has been depicted by no other than Governator and Terminator Arnold Schwarzenegger from Austria. His father is being yeah, a Nazi police chief and all the stuff. Not going into this, but we have talked about this. But of course, fire and destruction right from the start, from the beginning. The Terminator beat, or the Terminator track actually, consists of 5 metal beats. Ba-bam, bam, ba-bam. Which just has the symbolism of a mechanical heartbeat of a machine. So therefore the Terminator's heart just pounding 5 times for the 5 times I will. Sure. Huh? 5 times I will. Isaiah 40:12 for the 150,000th time. And Terminator 2 has a subtitle called Judgment Day, so it sounds a little bit biblical, doesn't it, Brett?
Of course.
Yeah,
The
and
false gospel, yes.
yeah, and we are still on the first page. So,
False gospel fits really well with people that don't study nor care about the Bible, doesn't it?
so this is a picture here from that very movie.
Mm.
It's in a scene where the one Terminator is just having a truck with 18 wheels, 666 of course, and he's just following the good Terminator with the John Connor with a teenager on his Harley Davidson motorcycle, and they have just a pursuit around the channels, and out of a sudden there's a bridge arriving, which on the bridge has been painted in red and black. Do we know these colors? Maybe red and black. Satanism. And it says caution 9/11. But isn't it a little bit strange, Mr. Brett, that it's been depicted here 9'11 inch? Is that really the case that it was indicated this way?
Yes, because 9 apostrophe means 9 feet, and then 11 quote is 11 inches. Yeah.
Okay, so usually the John Doe of the cinema would say, yeah, of course, that's an imprint on a bridge, so what about it? Well, you see, that bridge is there where usually no traffic occurs. Unless you have it in a movie of James Cameron of Terminator 2, where that truck is just hitting the bridge. The actual bridge, somebody says on that video, does not say caution 9/11. This means they added it. It was intentional. Not only that, but there is no middle beam. They added that too. No coincidence. Also interesting that T-1000, the Terminator driving that 18-wheel truck, is liquid metal, almost like the steel beams that melted from the jet fuel. Of course, we are talking about an event which happened exactly, almost exactly 10 years later. Not 10 years after the famous band, but 10 years later, in 2001. And I don't have to tell anybody what I mean. Meanwhile, the T-1000 Terminator upgrade liquid metal Terminator, played by Robert Patrick, fetches up beneath the 6th Street Bridge featured in the climax of SWAT, but now sadly demolished downtown Los Angeles, so it's been playing in Los Angeles, City of the Angels, or the Lost Angels, and has soon tracked young Connor down to Reseda. So that's what it actually looks like. Uh-huh. Interesting. No caution 9/11 there, and no thick middle beam, right?
Hold on. Just keep it there for a second. If you enlarge it, it almost says like Yum something Street or something.
I am busy doing this. I try to provide you with the best service that any German guy could offer.
Of course, they changed it. They altered it. Yes.
Yes, they altered that. Sure. So, can we agree on that fact that no Caution 911 has been imprinted on the bridge? Can we agree also on the fact that that this bridge, this tunnel, what else, is not intended to be open to the public? Right? This is the location there. Right. So this is what I mean. So this is not intended for broad audience. Even the Terminator is rushing through that gate with his Harley Davidson. So it's not open for public. So it does not make any sense, especially when it's not there in real life. Okay, see my point? See my point, I guess. Mm-hmm. This is what it looks like in the actual movie here. And this is what it looks like in real life. So they added that. So later on, the head of this Cyberdyne corporation, Skynet, has been located in a certain building, which was then the Cyberdyne headquarters, high security home of the lethal cyborg chip, really is situated in California's Silicon Valley, the heart of the computer industry. That's what we had talked about a few sessions before. This building is now the home of Medicine Technology, 47131, Bayside Parkway, Fremont. Yeah, so this is a real existing building, but they have computer generated a little bit more of a lobby in front of them. Sure, computer originated, sure. Los Angeles is a movie city. Yes, everything is possible, and don't believe that is the reality, what they are just presenting you on the big screen. So, what I would like to go into is that Terminator 2 first published for the first time a liquid metal Terminator, the T-1000. And this is a trick done to make the effect of a kind of like a molten metal. This is very interesting when you compare that to some findings in New York, a little bit more on the East Coast, because the NIST, the National Institute for Standards and Technology, sidesteps the well-documented presence of molten metal throughout the debris field and asserts that the orange molten metal seen pouring out of WTC-2 for the 7 minutes before its collapse was aluminium from the aircraft combined with organic materials. Sure. You only have to believe it. That's what you see here is not what you see, because you have to pre-programmed in a way that you believe all your government installations and government agencies, of course. Molten metal was seen pouring out of WTC for 7 minutes, leading up to its collapse. Molten metal, the same thing that Terminator 2 introduced as the compound of the Terminator. What if I told you, said somebody, that your cartoons and movies have told you more truth than your own government? So my question is just a hypothetical question or rhetoric question. Preconditioning on this, when they are just preconditioning us on this, maybe they're also preconditioning us on other things to come concerning the Terminator movies, right? Mm-hmm. It's just a logic assumption, Brett. Mm-hmm. So, of course, people who don't want to look behind any curtain and don't want to stress their own brain, they just say, it's just a coincidence, bro, calm down. They are just talking about the 9 feet to 11.
9 foot 11 inches, Mike.
9 foot 11 inches, thank you so much. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so intro to the film shows AI robots, so Terminators, destroying everything, and it said the year 2029, and you see that one say, okay, the meteor will rise, the other one says the Jap will wipe out billions, but in Terminator, the big fear is an atomic war being introduced by Skynet, Cyberdyne, artificial intelligence, by the use of Terminators in the year 2029, when we had talked about last time about the 100-year celebration of the Roman Lateran Treaty.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The pin code of the stolen card that John Connor, because he will be the future leader of the resistance against the Terminators in that awesome movie Terminator 1, Terminator 2 and alike, uses the ATM. The pin code of the stolen card is the time of the impact of the second airplane on the minute. The pin identification number, PIN, is 9003, while the second plane time attack is 9002, but other witnesses said it's 903. And even if you go into the English page of the September attacks, they tell you that at 9:03, the World Trade Center's South Tower was hit by United Airlines Flight 175. But that must be a coincidence, right? It's a pure coincidence. It's always the case when I do sessions with Brad that we are just so keen on coincidences in this world. 903.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody says, oh, it must be 903. You see that maybe it would be too obvious. I don't know. Some other guy says, look at these other scenes in Terminator 2 where Terminator tells that scientists at his house that billions of people will be dead. In one of his houses we can see the picture with a checkered floor known from Masonic lodges. Aside we can see a statue of Anubis, another symbol connected with Illuminati, or what else you would like to come up with. Especially with Egyptian mythology. And what is that thing below picture? Isn't it an owl? What a coincidence. Anubis statue is also known from Denver Airport. So this is here still a frame from Terminator. And this is what it's been depicted on Denver Airport as King Tut. I just want to show you that they are just full of symbolism, of course. The sign is only on one side, 9/11, on the bridge of the movie, which makes it even more disturbing. The bridge we have seen. And track fuel can't melt bridges as well that jet planes cannot melt buildings. Look at the shape of the two openings and under that small bridge. They represented twin towers and on top it's saying caution 9/11 before the truck plows into it. And we know that this big pillar here is intentional, but not real. So they added it in that movie, but imagine that if they add this in and nobody sees any difference, what that means in 1991. So are they fooling us big time with any movies? That's what I mean. You see that it's just artificial here. It's just a T. And these two holes can just mean, yeah, this is from the other side, seen from the other side. And even in that depiction here, you see the sunshine, you see the shadow here, on that middle pillar here, on that support column or what else that is. And you see the fire here and these two openings, officially from that truck fuel. So it could be a resemblance to 9/11. If you look at the tunnels vertically, they represent the two towers. Might be, especially when it's been depicted with 9/11.
Oh, Michael. I just did the math. 1991 is 33 years before 2024.
Do you want to scare me then?
Well, it's interesting how that works out. I don't know. I never even watched the movie. I don't even know what Terminator 2 is about. I haven't even watched it.
Terminator 2 means it's just another plot that the Terminator has been sent back in time because the leader of the resistance, John Connor, is now been, I do not know how old, 7, 8, 9 years old, something. I can't remember now when it just plays. Something around 10, 11, I don't care. And it just tries to protect him because the Terminators to the bad side, the evil side, had sent the newest Terminator model to finally get rid of John Connor because they couldn't kill the mother in the first Terminator movie. And so they are just in for a kill for her child, John Connor, which would be then in the future the leader of the resistance. And to get rid of the leader of the resistance, they just travel back in time. And now you got two Terminators, Arnold Schwarzenegger, this time the good guy and not the bad guy from part 1, trying to then protect John Connor as a teenager, and the bad Terminator with the liquid metal trying to kill John Connor and the Terminator and blow up the entire city. So that's in a nutshell. That's in a nutshell.
Wow.
So the problem is that if you don't want to see it because you don't want to be frightened or don't want to be just out of your comfort zone, it's a shame that people can't see the symbols of messages, and they're in everything. Yeah, normally the sign would mean 9/11 for height or 9/11 for height. It would have said clearance, but it said caution 9/11, which is a warning for future reference, which could be. This movie came out in 1991, so it was warning us prior. And this is a variable opinion, of course. What also could be, the ultimate proof would be that the tunnel is not 9/11. Yeah? Another weird thing, 9/11 would happen 10 years after this. T-1000, the bad Terminator model, the liquid metal one, could be interpreted as T minus 10 years. Sure. Somebody wants to claim that James Cameron, the producer of that movie, CC, Canadian Night, is a 33-degree Mason, which could be. Because I found it really interesting that director James Cameron visited the Titanic shipwreck 33 times. One of his trips was scheduled on the same day of the September 11, and then you see, it's just too much to go into anything. But
yeah, right.
Yeah, now comes a very interesting thing, because I did not go into this because I just wanted to just explain my train of thoughts that everything is pre-programming for the future things to come, in my humble opinion. And some researcher, I do not know who that guy is, an opinion I read on YouTube today, and I was totally fascinated, because I don't know if I would have seen it with my own eyes. This is really something. This is really something. I tell you what it's about. You don't have to listen to any noise here. It does not make any sense. I have subtitles here. But the thing is that now that the mother of John Connor is trying to disassemble the Terminator, and Arnold Schwarzenegger playing here the good Terminator, and they try to open his circuits. And the circuits are being hidden with a microchip inside his head. And now he's given them an operation manual how to reset him. So that means to shut him off. And so therefore you see that is of course not the skull of Arnold Schwarzenegger, but they extract here a chip, a CPU. Right? You see this. So you got a puppet here looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger and all the stuff. Yeah, so, and they're just extracting a CPU. And Mother Connor just insists on just crashing it. Because then at least the good Terminator would be killed forever. Because without the operation system, there is no intelligence spread. You see that without the chip, the computer does not work. So they try to get rid of his CPU, but John Connor insists of, no, don't kill him. And she says now, not him, it. It, John, not it. Like internet, IT. It. We need it. Trust me, I will be the leader of the future resistance. And now comes the big one. When they insert that microchip again, this is the microchip here. This is the microchip. 3 times 5. And this is a slot or what else that is. These are some screws or what. Yeah, so this is the supposed microchip of the Terminator. And this is Linda Hamilton, who later on married the director. That's a usual thing that James Cameron does, at least officially. I just show it to you, Brad, that you know a little bit. Yeah? So, and the Terminator runs a diagnostic.
Was there a problem?
And now we freeze frame that image. And somebody says, and I find that a highly intelligent remark, and says, look what has been stated here underneath. on the right side of the monitor under elapsed time. Can you read it, Brett?
Mark 00126.
Right. Now we go back to the script, right? Because it's much more easier to read than to look into a YouTube video. Somebody says, there is a biblical reference of Mark 1:26 I've spotted in the scene where they put the chip back into the head of T-101, meaning the Terminator, Mark 1:26. Isn't that something?
Huh. Okay. Mark 1:26 says, and when the unclean spirit had torn him and cried with a loud voice, he came out of him.
Mm-hmm. So it has something to do, you can look it up, you see, on the King James Bible. It has something to do with a demon.
Mm-hmm.
But I found that quite a find. Mark 1:26. Could be. At least it's a possibility that I think the general public would not consider. Yeah? There was a man with an unclean spirit. Okay, shall I move on then?
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good eye, right. The 9/11 bridge getting destroyed by the truck, get it? Twin towers were destroyed by the planes and exploded just like the bridge did. Some other guy says James Cameron is apparently a 33-degree Mason and theorized that you get in a lot of secrets once you are at that level. Considering the amount of pre-9/11 things like this in the movie and TV shows, it seems that 9/11 was planned far in advance and only some knew about it. It seems that either way purposely put these hints in to mess with us or just their way of signalizing or signaling other people in the know that they also know. So, what else? Somebody with a brain says, from what I remember, it's not really 9'11" and clearance labels are not generally put in canals as canals are not designed for traffic. And that's, that's the point, right?
Yep.
Makes sense.
Sure.
And bridges are usually not 9 feet 11 inches.
No.
Yeah. But the problem is that many people will deny it because they don't love the truth and also they get scared. That's what you told us in the beginning of the session.
Right.
Yeah. It does not mean that the people that created the bridge knew about 9/11. It means that the people who decided to paint 9/11 on the bridge, or they don't have to paint it on the bridge actually. They only have to insert it as CGI or what else in that movie. You see that if you can create the illusion that you got a thick middle pillar as a support pillar, which isn't there, I think then it is quite also the same cheap trick to just insert some kind of paintings which is not there because it just computer created artificial stuff. The entire movie 9/11 is not real. Arnold Schwarzenegger is not the Terminator, at least not with an artificial hand. And there are no liquid Terminators, but maybe there are now. But I think that's quite sure they weren't there in 1991, right? So the entire movie is a fabrication. Is it just coincidence that the truck slams right in the ladder, sets on fire and spills fuel? Is it coincidence that Terminator 2 is a movie about time travel where the hero is sent back to stop a tragedy for humanity? Must be a coincidence then. So there are also some games, at least the video claims it, that predicted 9/11. Urban Strike. I've not seen that. New York Defender. Creepy stuff. Yeah. So you can ask yourself, what's real and what's fiction? The problem is that you don't get any good answer from the government as well as that you don't get any good answer from your scientists. And the reason is the Vatican. In their own page, or on their own page, I do not know why it does not work. Maybe it works. Now it works. I think red is the best color, which fits here. Brett, the Vatican Observatory says in Sacred Space Astronomy, Phase Science page, Louvain lectures Robert Bellarmine. And we can go to this page that somebody does not accuse me of just hiding something or just making something up. We will go directly to that page, if the computer allows. The Louvain lectures of Robert Bellarmine. Faith and Science. Bellarmine Louvain lectures of the 1570s, so quite after the installation of the Jesuit order, and letters of 1615 show that he was willing to consider unusual ideas, and that over a span of multiple decades. He believed that scripture should be interpreted in light of scientific evidence. But what should occur only when the evidence is really solid, meaning that so long as there is any doubt, traditional interpretations stand. That's pretty interesting stuff. Robert Bellarmine was an Italian Jesuit and a cardinal of the Catholic Church. He was canonized as saint in 1930, interesting, same year as Pluto. And named a doctor of the Church, only one of 37. He was one of the most important figures in the Counter-Reformation. Bellarmine was a professor of theology and later rector of the Roman College, and in 1602 became Archbishop of Capua. He supported the reform decrees of the Council of Trent. He is also widely remembered for his role in the Giordano Bruno affair, the Galileo affair, and the trial of Friar Fulgencio Manfredi. You know what that guy is. This is a hardcore Jesuit, of course. Robert Bellarmine, S.J. So in the light of Terminator and other stuff, the Vatican-owned site of the Vatican Observatory claims the following, quote-unquote, and please listen now carefully. The 20-something Bellarmine Jesuit has just said that there can be no conflict between science and scripture. When the science is uncertain and various theories are in competition, accepted interpretation of scripture can be a guide in choosing which theory seems most attractive. But he says when the science is solid and the truth of the matter well established, then science will guide the interpretation of scripture. That's why I always claim that science is the new and the old religion. Science will guide the interpretation of scripture. Put another way, Jesus referred to the mustard seed as the smallest of seed. A literal interpretation of that verse is possible only so long as no botanist has turned up some smaller kind of seed. I think that on this bombshell, we will close down this session because Brad and I got much more things to do. Because I think that you see that when there are pre-programming and there are some predictions in some movies, that it's not only limited to the bombardment of something which then will be liquid metal in 9/11 and some strange artificial robots and some, I have to point it out, some CGI which they used in 1991. So when they used CGI in 1991, what shall convince me that they didn't use CGI in 2001? So on this bombshell, I'm just going back to the script because it's the last side of that script. My question, so Terminator could be also a prophecy. And on that bombshell, I like to hand it over to my beloved brother Brett.
Yeah, that's some script, Michael. I really never knew much about this series, so thank you for putting this together. It's always uncomfortable to look at the working plans of the Jesuit order. With my own background in my own life, I was very surprised, disgusted actually. So it's just, what's to say? I mean, it's just, this is just a slap in the face, of course. Bellarmine, yeah. Bellarmine, Robert Bellarmine.
This is on the official Wikipedia, sorry, on the official Vatican Observatory page. Yeah?
Wow.
Yeah, so.
Yep, science will guide the interpretation of Scripture. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up, doesn't it? That's the way that Satan interprets the Bible, I guess. Yeah, there is no spirit there other than the spirit of materialism. That'll get you into big trouble. But anyway, Michael, yeah, that's quite an amazing bunch of research you did into this, and thank you for doing that. That's really, really something. Yeah, I don't know what to say, Michael. It's just been a crazy.
You can also just exchange the word. Science will guide the interpretation of Scripture. 400 years later, 2024, 2030, something. AI will guide the interpretation of the Bible.
Sure. All pre-programmed, of course. Yep. All algorithmic, of course. So it's all pre-planned and pre-set, and of course they miss the point every single time. So that's the kicker, is that it's the wrong way to go, obviously. But that's what the majority always tends to decide, the wrong way, the easy way, the broad way, Michael, as we like to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
The broad that leads to destruction. That's the natural position in this world that one is supposed to take. And when you go against that, then all hell breaks loose on you. I think Michael and I can both vouch for that.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like that's the way the world is set up. It's just all set up to just self-destruct in your face. Because, I've heard others say, it's like the book of Job, and each one of us is in the position of Job, and that Satan's going to throw everything he can at us so that we will recant. So the test is in progress as we speak, isn't it, Michael?
Mm-hmm.
We're all being tested. We're tested with our patience. We're tested with our emotions. We're tested with our most intimate thoughts. So that's the way it is. That's the way it works. And yeah, it's really very intense. But yeah, this Bellarmine, I really haven't studied much about Bellarmine, but I know that he was a very instructive in, wasn't it I forget. You'd have to ask Tom for us. He would know. He studied Bellarmine a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't. Yep, God willing, we come back next time and finish it up. So hope to see you then. Bye-bye.